scared of looking stupid. Welcome back to the pod. Today's episode will be a rant about how I'm scared of looking stupid in different public settings and just past experiences of that. So, when you're in a new environment, and especially if it's something that you've never experienced before, there is a learning curve, right? So if you don't know any better, if you've never seen this particular thing or had this particular experience before, then through trial and error, you learn, and then it becomes something that's familiar. It's no longer unknown to you. You have your own firsthand experience with it. But sometimes there's this massive lag between you never having experienced this particular thing and between your first few trial and errors with it. And the thing is, the longer you delay it, the more daunting it's going to feel between you and yourself. And this is the issue that I have had and I continue to struggle with, but it's something that I'm more aware of now. So whenever it comes up, at least I know what it is, I can identify it and I can manage it accordingly. But the thing is, I did not always know that I have a fear of looking stupid or that I had a fear of being judged. So I just knew that I felt embarrassed and I felt self-conscious in certain situations, and that would paralyze me before those situations or in those particular situations. And I would often find myself having a panic attack. So the thing is, I never knew that this was social anxiety. I never knew that what was going on, what I was experiencing was panic attacks. I just felt like there was something wrong with me because I felt like I'm scared of looking stupid. It seems so silly when you say it out loud and after you actually get on the other side of it, but this is more of like a confessional type of moment where I'm admitting I'm scared of looking stupid in certain situations and how I've actually overcome some of them and how this fear is very selective. Like sometimes in some situations, it chooses when it wants to come up, right? In some situations, my confidence is through the roof. I go into a new environment or new experience and I just like have zero fucks, right? No fear, nothing. I just go in, I do the damn thing. And then other situations, my confidence is at an all-time low. I feel more self-conscious than ever, and something that is so silly is like my mind makes a mountain out of a molehill. Okay, so this fear is very selective and I never can anticipate when it might or might not come up. It just does without my even knowing it. And now the more that this has been coming up, the more I'm able to actually anticipate when it might or might not. It's not a science, it's not 100%, but at least now I'm more familiar with the process of it. So this might not resonate with a lot of people because for a lot of people, this next example is very clear cut. Public transportation. Back home, you don't really use public transportation, not often anyways. Everyone just has their own car, does their own thing, or they carpool. And every time I've traveled, we either rent a car, Uber, or someone else is in charge of public transportation, like figuring it out, maneuvering it, and I just like hop along. Get in the car or get in the taxi or get on the subway. I don't have to figure everything out. I just show up and I'm just guided through it. So a few years ago, I got on the subway in New York. Usually it's either my sister or my parents or someone else who's just figuring out the route, and they just tell me, okay, this is your card, follow me or whatever. A couple of times, and a single trip, a couple of times I got on the wrong train, I got off at the wrong stop, and I ended up in a completely different, like completely opposite end of where I was going, or in a very shady neighborhood, and that kind of terrified me. So that instilled in me a new fear of getting on the wrong bus or train or getting off at the wrong stop and just feeling stupid of not being able to read the public transit information that is either available on trains or like there's an app for it or whatever. I just feel like stupid if I can't figure it out. But there's nothing wrong with it, right? Because I've never experienced this and there's a learning curve. The more you do it, the more skilled you become at it. But no, for me, I don't want to do it because I know that if I try to ask someone or if I try to figure it out, I'm going to feel stupid or people are going to call me dumb. So that's just like pushing me even deeper into my little hole of fear. A few years ago, my first trip ever to Amsterdam, I stayed at a friend's place and they were at work during the day. So I wake up the next day, have my breakfast, have my coffee. Then when I start to get dressed and start to pack my purse and just prepare everything for the day, before I start heading out the door, I start having heart palpitations. I start freaking out about, okay, I've never been on this street before. What direction am I supposed to walk in? Which train am I supposed to take? What if I take the wrong train? What if I get off at the wrong stop? What if I end up in a neighborhood that I've never been in? What if I can't call someone or I can't reach them? And just all of these terrible worst case scenarios started popping up in my mind. So I told myself, it's fine, you'll figure it out, it's okay. So all of this was happening in between my walking out the front door and actually walking to the bus stop. And then halfway through, I hadn't even reached the bus stop. Halfway through the walk, I freaked out, had a panic attack. I turned back around, came back to the apartment, smoked a joint, slept, and when I woke back up, I was like, you know what, let me try again. Did it again. And then this time, I think it was because I was high, I was a bit less anxious about the situation. I got on the train, I got off at the stop, I walked around, did some shopping, I got back on the train, I came back to the apartment, and then I realized, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal. So the second day, I was like, okay, I did this. I can do it again. I got on the same train. I got off at the wrong stop. I walked around. I told myself, it's okay. I can figure it out. It's fine. There's Wi-Fi everywhere. I can call. I can check GPS. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal. And then at the end of the day, I came back to the apartment. Everything was fine, right? Like the thing that I was most scared of happened. And I realized it wasn't as big of a catastrophe as my mind had made it out to be. But the way that my mind translated the experience was that, okay, you got lucky this time. Maybe next time, or maybe you didn't get on the wrong bus or off the wrong stop this time, but probably it'll happen next time. So I was like, okay, you know what? Shh. Now is not the right time for you. So this is the deal with public transportation. Even here in Vancouver, it was actually relatively easy to familiarize myself with the transit system, with the bus system and everything. But still, up until now, I've been here for 2 months, and up until now, I still do worry sometimes about looking stupid on the bus. So at first, I didn't get a Compass card. I was just using cash, like coins, to pay every time I would get on the bus, and I always had the exact same amount, and I would double triple check before I get on the bus, and I would put the coins in. I would look at the driver just to make sure that everything is okay, because I was worried that he's going to tell me, no, you're doing it wrong, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing, it's common sense, how do you not know what to do on a bus? Okay. And then my worst fear happened, where this one time I put in maybe like 10 cents less than I was supposed to, and the bus driver, and there were people coming in after me, and the bus driver, he was very mean that day, okay? He looked at me, he was like, that's not enough. He was very, like, in a very harsh tone. I panicked, I freaked out, I took out whatever coins were in my bag, I just started like shoving them all into like this little coin dispenser thingy, and then I was scared, like I thought he was gonna yell at me, and he's like, it's fine, just go in. I went inside, I take my phone, I text my sister, I'm like, the bus driver was so mean. I think I put in like $5 or $10 more than I was supposed to, just because I panicked and I didn't know what was going on. But it wasn't until it happened. It was bad. I felt very embarrassed. I felt very silly, but it wasn't the end of the world kind of thing. Or another thing that, again, getting on the wrong bus or getting off at the wrong stop. It happened recently. And then I just found my way back home, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But if that had happened before I got familiar with the bus system, I probably would have freaked out even more. But because I got used to our little area, to the neighborhood, I got used to, if I get off at this stop, I can walk back in this direction, or what bus to take, or how to check for what bus is coming. If I didn't know all of this, I probably definitely would have freaked out a lot more than I did. But because I was a bit more familiar with it, I felt more capable with dealing with the situation when and if it was going to happen, and it did happen, and I dealt with it just fine. So it made me realize, okay, it's not that big of a deal. Another thing is with the gym. Gyms are different, okay? Every gym has a different layout, has a different set of machines that are available or unavailable. So it took me a very long time. I toured maybe 5 different gyms until I settled on one. And even after I joined this gym, I joined the last week of July, we're halfway through September, and just last week I felt comfortable enough to go up and train on the floor. So every gym, the floor layout is different, okay? Some have certain equipment, some don't, and the way that they spread them out on the floor is different. So I felt very, because it's awkward going into a new gym, you're just walking around looking at the different equipment, or you don't know where something is, or you don't know if this is even an option in this gym. Some things, if you've been at a gym for a very long time, you might look at someone new coming in and be like, oh, it's common sense. This machine is, it's a big machine, so it's supposed to be in the corner, or stuff like that. So I felt like I was on the receiving end. I would be on the receiving end of that kind of judgment. So, and that kept me from asking for help or asking for support or asking questions to the floor trainers, even though that's what they're there for, right? But I felt very self-conscious if I'm going to go and train. While I'm training, just walking around the floor and trying to figure out what machines are where, or what the gym etiquette is in that space, or whatever. So it took me a little over a month, but I finally, and the funny thing is, so they have classes at this gym, okay? And some of the like the space where they hold the classes, it's on the same floor as the training floor. So what I would do is when I'm walking up from the locker room, I'd be on the phone with someone, and I would use that as an excuse of me just like walking around the gym and like scoping out the layout, and just sneaking a few peeks left and right to see what machines are available or in which corner they are. So it's kind of like I was doing some recon or scouting before I was mentally prepared to actually go up and train on the floor. And it definitely helps to have a training buddy. I have a training buddy, so now it's like she's like a security blanket where, okay, I have someone there. Like if I do something silly, I can go back to her and be like, oh my God, I felt so silly. Versus if I do something silly and I'm by myself, I feel even more self-conscious. But this is something else that I've started to get used to, and pushing myself through the fear of looking stupid. Like there's nothing wrong with looking stupid. It's as simple as, hey, I'm new to this gym. I don't know where all the equipment is, or I don't know what the protocol is for, I don't know, using this machine or that machine. Can you just let me know? Okay, cool, thanks. Like owning up to it. There's someone that I follow on Instagram. Her motto is act confident and no one will question you. So I'm applying that of just like own up to it. It's not that I'm stupid. It's just that I don't know, and I'm here to learn, and I'm here to experience. And this actually reminds me of a situation back in university. I was in an econ class, intro to econ class, and the professor was talking about how we have our first exam coming up or whatever. And he was saying that we're not allowed to use calculators. So this one guy in the back raises his hand, asks him a question of, okay, if we can't use calculators, then how are we supposed to like calculate this specific thing? And the professor got pissed. He went on a full-on rant about how this generation is very spoiled and entitled, and we're very lazy. And he's like, if you can't calculate the simple thing without a calculator, then what the hell are you even doing here? Like he was fully intent on making everyone in the class feel stupid and penalizing us for it. I don't know what came over me, like the Holy Spirit came over me. I don't know what happened, what possessed me. Out of nowhere, I opened my mouth. I was sitting in the corner, in the front row of the class, but I was in the corner. I don't know what possessed me. I wasn't even thinking, the words just came out of my mouth. I opened my mouth and I look at him. I'm like, well, why are you calling him stupid? There's something that he doesn't know. He's asking you a question. You're the professor. It's your job to educate him. Everyone looks at me. Even the professor looks at me like, ugh, the audacity of this girl. As soon as I shut my mouth, I even judged myself in the sense of, what the hell did you just do? Where the hell did that come from? I have no idea where that came from. To this day, I have no idea whatsoever where that came from. I think I even blacked out because I don't know what happened after that. A few weeks later, we had another class and someone else was asking a question. He asked the professor a question and the professor looked at me. He's like, I don't feel like arguing with Christine right now. So he just full on like answered the question. He's like, yeah, Christine's taken it upon herself to be the lawyer of the class. And everyone just like giggled and we all laughed it off. But I don't know where the hell that came from. I just did not appreciate that he was trying to make us feel stupid when the guy was actually asking him, I don't know this. Can you please help me, or can you please explain it? So I don't know if maybe that's triggered my fear of looking stupid, but that's like one of the first memories that I have of intentionally owning up to, I don't know this. I'm asking you, so don't belittle me and actually help me. An approach that I've started adopting recently with this fear of looking stupid is actually something that I learned through my yoga practice. So recently, there were a lot of different things that I was scared of doing in my yoga practice because I was scared of falling, I was scared of hurting myself, whatever it may be, which is all very valid and is part of the journey. But again, it's one of those things like the more you delay it, the more that there's a lag between the fear and you actually overcoming it, the more daunting the experience is going to be. Last year, I decided that I was actually going to do it scared. For example, in my handstands, for a year, because I sprained my wrist twice falling out of handstands, and that put like this big fear of falling out of handstands in my mind, and it was a paralyzing fear. So I decided last year that I don't want to be scared anymore. If I'm scared of falling, then I'm going to intentionally fall so that I can get this fear of falling out of my mind. So I enrolled in gymnastics class, and for months there were mattresses. For months, all we did was familiarize me with what it's like to fall. Of course, I was falling on the mattresses, but still, just getting more comfortable with the experience of falling. And then when that started to become something very normal, very mundane, I realized that it's not that big of a deal. And once I got over the fear of falling, once I learned how to fall, once I learned how to maneuver or how to manage this particular experience, I was actually able to work on my handstands in a way that I never had been able to before. So something that I didn't know whether or not I had potential in it, this knowing was being blocked by a fear. So it wasn't until after I pushed through this fear that I was able to get to the other side of it and see what potential I had and tap into that potential. So learning that through the handstands, through different aspects of my practice of doing it scared and not letting the fear delay me. If anything, if there's something that I'm scared of, I would rather do it sooner rather than later to just get on the other side of it. And then I realized recently that that lesson that I learned on the mat while I was practicing is something that I can take with me off the mat. So if there's something that I am scared of, instead of letting the fear postpone this particular experience, I would actually rather, because I'm scared of it, I want to do it sooner rather than later. There's something that my yoga teacher told me years ago, and it was get comfortable being uncomfortable. The more you get comfortable being uncomfortable, the more you refuse to be ruled by your fear. Just like I said, you can, instead of using the fear as an excuse to delay this particular experience, you can choose to do it sooner rather than later just to get on the other side of the fear. Because I realized that if there's something, if there's a fear or a certain experience that feels very like there's a super emotional charge behind it, then in my experience, on the other side of it is an equally emotionally charged release. In the past, every time I've had a fear and I've pushed through it and I've gotten to the other side of it, I felt more confident. I felt more capable in my abilities, I felt more trusting towards myself. I felt more accepting of myself. I felt more compassionate in the sense that, okay, now that I'm on the other side of it, I see how I was so scared of this thing, but it's okay. I didn't know any better. Now that I do, I realize that it's not this big of a thing, and I can take this and I can apply it into the next situation. And there's a very beautiful sense of liberation that comes from stepping into a fear and coming out of it and realizing that not only did you survive, already just realizing that you survived something that you're scared of, that feels empowering as hell, right? But it's not only in surviving. You come out of it and you look back on it and you realize that you actually thrived through it, or you take something out of it and then you continue building on it and creating something beautiful and tapping into potential you didn't even know you had. There's just something so empowering, so freeing, so liberating about it. So yes, I'm scared of looking stupid. That stops me from doing certain things, or that delays me from experiencing certain situations. But I've realized, and this is something that I'm reminding myself, so future Christine, if you're listening to this and there's something that you want to do but you're scared of looking stupid doing it, then this is me telling you, do it sooner rather than later. Do it scared, because the longer you wait to do it, the more catastrophic it's going to feel in your mind. So just do it scared, and you will definitely feel good on the other end of it. And you're going to look back on it and realize it wasn't that big of a deal. But it's okay. You won't know that it's not that big of a deal until after you do it. So I'm scared of looking stupid, but fuck it. It's just part of my life experience at this moment in time, whether it's founded, whether it's unfounded. I'm scared of looking stupid, and it's only through looking stupid, owning up to it, pushing through the fear, and coming out on the other end of it that you realize that it's really not that big of a deal, and you can actually take it lightly, like, oh, I'm scared of looking stupid, but it's fine. Haha, I'll just laugh it off. I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, then who can you laugh at? And that's it for today. See you next time.